360 live from our studio here at Adesawe Kanda in Accra. My name is Crosby Annan.
And I am Judith Brown. Coming up this evening.
News 360 headlines is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint,
Pepsodent Charcoal and Pepsodent Herbal.
This evening, yet another petition against a Supreme Court judge. Tonight, former law clerk files petition seeking removal of Justice Scott Poamang from the Supreme Court.
Also coming up, new revelations in the ongoing procurement scandal at the Electricity Company of Ghana continues to expose deep-seated financial mismanagement.
Also coming up tonight, state security agencies racing against time to locate and rescue Chinese nationals taken hostage by pirates in Ghana's territorial waters.
And much later in international news, a test rocket aimed at kickstarting European satellite launches has crashed back to Earth moments after taking flight. You're reminded that we're live also on all our social media platforms at TV3 Ghana. Feel free to like our page and leave a comment to share with the rest of the world. Let's start off tonight's bulletin with some news from the Supreme Court. Judith.
Absolutely, and a former court clerk, Samuel Jia, has filed a petition against a Supreme Court judge, Justice Gabriel Poamang. Now, this petition, among others, asks the Chief Justice to remove the judge, citing lack of competence, poor performance and questionable character in contravention of the standards required of a Supreme Court judge. Well, we cannot reveal the full content of the petition due to the Supreme Court ruling on the Justice Derry versus Anna's case that the publication of petition details was in breach of Article 146(8), which mandates confidentiality in impeachment processes. But let me run you through briefly some of the claims of the petitioner in this particular case, and that you can see from the screens the reasons cited for the removal of Justice Poamang JSC. And first is that his behavior and competence and performance of his duty as a Supreme Court judge are questionable, and that's according to the petitioner. He is also citing the reason that his actions contravene the standards required of a justice of the Supreme Court as required by Articles 1284 and 151 Clause 1 of the Constitution. He also cites the reason that Justice Poamang rules cases in favor of Nungwastu against in some cases because of his previous dealings with the Nungwastu as a lawyer. Now, he has some more reasons, and that has been cited in that petition. It includes that there were serious issues between him and lawyer Fosu Jiabuo over the ownership of Koilabi Chambers, and those issues still persist. They also have some more reasons that because of his previous engagement with the Nungwastu as a lawyer, it is unfair for Justice Poamang to adjudicate on disputes bordering on the Chewe family and Clay Musum quarter lands, the Che Nungwa lands as well, and they also talk about the Osustu lands and chieftaincy matters, as well as any matter in which lawyer Kwame Fosu Jiabuo is involved as a lawyer or represents as a client. So, as you can see, these are some of the reasons as cited for the removal of Justice Poamang JSC. And of course, Martin Pebu is a private legal practitioner. He's joining us with more details on this particular subject. Good evening, sir. Now, first, what are your initial thoughts on this said petition?
Okay, so the first thing is that, as you rightly stated, it's illegal for the contents to be published. So publishing the whole content is illegal. And you rightly mentioned the Justice Utaderi case. So the person who did the publication should be warned, because you see these things, because this matter is yet to be gone into, It doesn't help because once allegations are thrown out, sometimes when the person is even acquitted, a lot of people would not take time to follow the acquitter.
Right.
You see? And also it damages the justice system. So we have to condemn this publication with all the energy and all this gas that we can gather, that this is totally unwarranted. It's illegal. It's against the Constitution. Constitution envisages that it should be done secretly. All these things should be done privately. I mean, like in camera. You see that even the proceedings will be done in camera.
Right.
If the stages are. If we get there. But you see, the preliminary thing we have to look at is that, please look at the, what do you call it? The letter again. You see it's addressed to the Chief Justice.
Right.
Yes, I thought usually you would address that to the President. Yes, so I'm wondering why that is being done. And yet, also, if you look, there is received evidence that has been received at the Jubilee House. So we have a conundrum because under the Constitution, you would have to address it to the President, then it goes through to the Chief Justice.
But
right?
the President was copied in that letter, if you saw that.
So now what we will have to answer, or maybe not us, what the system has to answer is that since the letter was not written to the President, but directly to the Chief Justice, we are still developing the jurisprudence. Some people would say that it should be thrown out for procedural irregularity. Others who would say, oh, once the presidency has received it, the President can still, forward it to the Chief Justice like it should be done, and so on and so forth. So let's see how this huge technical blunder will be dealt with. It's extremely serious. And also because we are not allowed to discuss the content, it means that we'll have to leave it here. Because if I went into it, then they'll be like, okay, if the publication is wrong, why are you also discussing the content? So it appears this is where we have to leave it.
Well, I understand that as well. But if you could just take us through really what the process is for the removal of a justice of a Supreme Court, as the petitioner is asking for. We've seen really what the process is for the removal of the CJ herself. But if you could take us through for justices of the Supreme Court as pertaining for this particular case.
Good. So the processes are very similar. Very similar. When I say similar, meaning that there are two stages of the investigations. The stage one is the matter of the prima facie determination. So assuming this one is cleared to go through the process, then it means that the Chief Justice would then have to look at it and do a prima facie determination. Now, assuming there is everything okay with it, that we have to assume, then the Chief Justice will invite comments from Justice Puaman, okay? And then based on the comments, then the Chief Justice will do the prima facie determination and come out with a ruling. So the ruling of the Chief Justice will show whether the case should move to the stage 2, where you will have a proper trial like in a court of law. But this time the judges will be 5. So that's what they call the committee, made up of 3 justices of the Supreme Court and then 2 lay persons, okay, who are not judges, lawyers, nor ministers, okay? So that is it. So 2 stages of the trial. Stage 1, and it's only if the accuser passes stage 1 that it can go to stage 2. So if it doesn't pass the stage 1, that is the stage 1, the Chief Justice alone will be the judge. That's the investigator. That's who will look at the petition. And as I said, the thing we shouldn't run away from, or we should be watching keenly, is that, is this one of those ones that the Chief Justice can look at it and throw it out, without inviting comments from Justice Puaman? Yes, because you see that, as I said, because we can't, so let's put it simply this way. If you look at the contents, I don't have to mention what exactly is there. Exactly. But if you look at the content, you can see that the person is unsure of what he wants. Yes. In one breath, the person wants A. Then in another breath, the person wants something else, B. So this one, let's see how the practice will evolve. Because if you say A or B, and the two of them are not done in the same place. So we'll see whether they will be using principles of substantive justice to say in that case, the other thing that doesn't belong to the Chief Justice to do in this forum, that one should be cancelled out. Or there will be the technical people who will say that no, once the petition is an important you know, the local dish, important approach, it should be thrown out. So we'll see which one will prevail, whether substantive justice, so let's overlook these technical things, or strict technical rules will apply. Let's watch the space.
Well, Lawyer Pebu, just before you go, let's go a little deeper into this matter, because if you'd realize the petition he made was questioning the integrity of Justice Puamang, and this was based on Articles 151, which talks about the issue of integrity as well, and it says that that must be subject to investigation by the Judicial Council. Now, based on that claims, I'm sure you've gone through this petition. Based on those claims that the petitioner has made, would this be investigated by the Judicial Council before other steps are taken in regards to the case?
No, so this won't go to the Judicial Council.
Right.
It's going to, right now, as I say, it's been submitted to the Chief Justice. Under the law, it's the Chief Justice who would look at it, right, and do the prima facie, assuming it is accepted. As I'm saying, we've already talked about the problems that it faces. Okay? So it's for the Chief Justice to determine whether it will be properly accepted or it will be thrown out at the beginning because of the technical issues I've earlier on raised, because it didn't go through the president. All right. And then number two, because it is asking for two different things. I want removal or I want another thing, which we don't want to discuss. So because of these two main challenges it faces, we'll have to wait and see how it will be dealt with. Those are, I'm thinking, preliminary matters that will have to be dealt with.
Right.
And then we'll see how it goes.
Many thanks for your time. Martin Pebu is a private legal practitioner. We have been discussing the latest petition to remove Justice Scott Puamang from the Supreme Court as a justice.
Let's do some other stories tonight. Vice President Professor Jane Nano-Pokwajima has undergone medical treatment at the University of Ghana Medical Hospital following a sudden illness that occurred at work on Friday, March 28. Now, a statement issued by the Presidency Communications on Sunday, March 30, confirmed that the Vice President received care at UGMC on Saturday following the unexpected health episode. The statement, signed by Felix Kwachefosu, who's dispersing to the President and Minister for Government Communications, further indicated that, based on expert medical advice, the Vice President will seek additional medical treatment abroad.
In more news, Parliament has approved Get Fund's allocation of 200,000 cedis to each member of Parliament for education-related projects in their constituencies and 150,000 cedis each to monitor the projects. Now, the Speaker, Alvin Babing, further adjourned proceedings sine die after the House also approved budget estimates for National Health Insurance Levy and District Assembly Common Fund. George Quaining reports.
Parliament failed to rise on Friday, March 28, leaving the approval of budget estimate for some institutions hanging. They included Get Fund, District Assembly Common Fund, and National Health Insurance Levy. The House reconvened on Saturday, March 29 to finish business before recess. The House approved Get Fund's allocation of 200,000 cedis to each member of Parliament for educational-related projects in their constituencies and 150,000 cedis each to monitor projects. The House also approved 996,304 cedis per MP to monitor Get Fund and District Assembly Common Fund projects. Prior to recess, the 9th Parliament under the 4th Republic received 14 reports from various committees, which, among other things, saw the approval of some minister designates vetted by the Appointments Committee. The House also considered 16 bills, out of which 10 were successfully passed. The Speaker further adjourned proceedings synodine. In his closing remarks, Minority Leader Alexander Penyo-Markin implored members to eschew partisanship and work towards the common goal of Ghana.
I would encourage my colleagues in government to engage us, and if they do, they hereby have my assurance that we work together because it is Ghana first. The road sector is one example. No minister goes on the road to certify certificates. It is technocrats who do so. So where there are challenges and the Minister of Roads and Highways calls upon us, we are assuring him of working with him for solutions.
Majority Leader Mahama Yariga, on his part, implored members to be guided by the great principles of democracy.
All the research provides us with a much-needed break from the intensity of the floor. It is not just a time for rest, it is also an opportunity for the various committees which have now been inaugurated to perform their oversight responsibilities. Committee leaders are encouraged, indeed have been directed, to lead their respective committees to embark on working and familiarization visits to the respective ministries, agencies, educational institutions, health facilities, and other state institutions.
Should there be any emergency, the Speaker can recall the House to fulfill the business. George Quenin, TV3 News, Parliament, Accra.
Now, new revelations in the ongoing procurement scandal at the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, continue to expose deep-seated financial mismanagement. Well, fresh findings indicate that despite the company's shipping department being denied funds for container clearance, a contract worth 206 million cedis was awarded to two external companies for the same tax. In 2023 alone, over 512 contracts were awarded to specific companies without a competitive bidding process. Well, we'll take you through all the details, and of course, Crosby Annan is standing by with all the details for us. Crosby, can you tell us more?
Well, Judith, I'll tell you how we got here. Now, a backlog that started small, it has now ballooned into a major issue. But how did we get there? Let's break it down for you. Let's start from October 2023. Now, at the start, and I'm talking about October 2023, there were 20 pending containers waiting to be cleared. Then the ECG added some 1,302 new containers to the backlog, while 726 containers were successfully cleared. It means that 206 containers remained stuck at the port. Fast forward to December 2024, we're carrying that forward. Now, by the end of the year, the situation had worsened. ECG still had the 606 old containers, but instead of reducing the number, they brought in 2,430 new ones, with only 704 cleared. The number of pending containers then shot up to 2,332. Now, January 2025 this year, fast forward to the new year, and the backlog kept growing. ECG now had 2,332 containers pending. 174 new ones were added to the pile. And look at this, just 15 containers were cleared. It means that it left a total number of a staggering 2,491 uncleared containers at the port. Now, the numbers show a troubling trend. More containers kept coming in, but very few were being cleared. Let's move on to what we're talking about, the reason for the backlog. Now, the growing number of uncleared containers at the Tema port, it didn't just happen overnight. It comes down to one major decision that changed everything. I'll tell you about it. This is how it all started. ECG had a system in place. So that system, they allocated 5 million cedis every week to clear the containers. This ensured a steady flow, preventing any major backlog, like what we're seeing right now. This is where it went wrong. Now, in 2022, ECG stopped making these weekly payments. Without funds to clear the shipments, containers started piling up and the backlog kept growing. Now, the result, in 2025, ECG now has 491 uncleared containers, and turning what was once a manageable system into a full-blown crisis. This is what we're talking about, and will mean the missing containers. Let's talk about the numbers. Now, out of the 2,491 containers, ECG has failed to account for 1,328 of them. Now, that is a staggering number, and it is worth $489 million. And that's 53% of all the containers gone without a trace. Meanwhile, only 1,134 containers, that's about 46%, are confirmed to be at the port. Now, another 29 containers, and that's only just about 1%, that's reported to be en route coming into the country. The financial burden of ECG's container holdup isn't just about the backlog. It is also costing the company in huge sums when it comes to penalties. The damage is this, and I mean demurrage. Now, as of January 31 this year, ECG's demurrage cost at the Tema port, it had soared past 1.04 billion cedis. Now, this is extra money ECG has to pay for keeping the containers at the port, beyond, of course, the allowed free period, if you like. If we're talking about some more issues about the clearing of these containers. Now, even as ECG's containers piled up at the port due to lack of funds, a massive contract was awarded to private companies to clear them. The contract, a total of 200.6 million cedis was given to these companies. I'm talking about Mint Logistics Limited and One Dawards Bond Limited to clear the backlog of the containers. Now, the controversy is this. It happened despite ECG's own shipping department requesting funds to do the job, requests that were denied because of insufficient funds. So why was there no money when ECG's team asked, but millions suddenly appeared for private firms to deal with the situation? Now, to a major problem that arises from all of this, beyond the missing containers and financial mismanagement, there's another major issue, and I'm talking about procurement violations at the Electricity Company of Ghana. ECG repeatedly bypassed Ghana's Public Procurement Act. I'm talking about Act 663, 2003. Now, using an unapproved procurement manual instead of following legal guidelines to go through it, engaging in excessive single sourcing for high-value contracts without approval. Now, failing to provide any records showing that the Public Procurement Authority approved these contracts. That's a revelation that we're finding out from the report. The shocking rise in the numbers is this. Now, in 2022, ECG awarded 33 contracts through single sourcing. Now, by 2023, that number, it exploded to 512 contracts, making up a staggering 72.83% of all the contracts awarded in that year. Now, these are some of the very disturbing things that have come out of this huge and this whole, container stack at the Electricity Company of Ghana port. There are some recommendations that have been made in the report that ECG should go by the book and should correct the wrongs that have been made, Judith.
Now let's do some stories. And state security agencies are racing against time to locate and rescue Chinese nationals who have been taken hostage by pirates in Ghana's territorial waters. Director General of the Ghana Maritime Authority, Dr. Camille Dean Ali, speaking earlier on News Central, stated that information sharing efforts are being intensified through the ECOWAS Multinational Maritime Coordinating Center to expedite the rescue operation.
It has been 3 days since the piracy incident, and the various agencies are still collaborating and working on it. You have the Ghana Maritime Authority, which is where I sit and with my team. Then you have the Ghana Navy, and through the Ghana Armed Forces, the Ghana Navy issued a statement, and there are other key stakeholders that are working together assiduously so that the abducted crew members can be traced and rescued. Within the maritime space, one of the criminal activities that do take place is piracy. And the Gulf of Guinea generally have had these incidents of piracy. Generally, this we call this long-range piracy incidents, and generally these attacks, although we are yet to confirm in this case, are conducted from somewhere in the Niger Delta across the maritime space of other countries in the Gulf of Guinea. As a matter of fact, only last week also, somewhere on Wednesday, Thursday, we had an incident of hijacking of Equatorial Guinea. And Equatorial Guinea, Sao Tome and Principe. And within the next week, we have had this abduction also in Ghanaian waters. What I do know is that we are still at a level where generally members of the Gulf of Guinea through the Yaoundé architecture are working very hard on these numbers. You remember that going back to 2019, 2020, we had more than 100 incidents across the region. So this has actually decreased substantially. And the collaborative framework that we have now, we have.
Now, some fishermen along Ghana's coast say they are unperturbed about the recent alleged piracy attack on a Ghanaian registered vessel. The fishermen say the attack, although happened in Ghanaian waters, the place it happened is far from where they usually operate. Joseph Armstrong-Gold-Alagwe has more in this report.
This is a ship that was involved in the suspected piracy attack that occurred on 27th March, successfully sailed to shore with about 3 persons, including the captain, allegedly kidnapped to unknown destination.
According to reports, the Marine Police and the Eastern Naval Command's naval intelligence personnel have conducted initial interrogations of the suspected abduction. Information of the incident has also been shared with neighboring countries through the ECOWAS Multinational Maritime Coordination Center Zone in Accra, under the Yaoundé Architecture for Maritime Security, as part of efforts to alert neighboring countries to also look out for the kidnappers. Meanwhile, all efforts are being made by the intelligence agencies to locate and free the crew of the ship. Reacting to the incident, some local fishermen said such attacks are far from where they sail for fishing.
It happened far away from us. Yeah, so we have a clear of mind to go to our fishing and fish for what we are looking for.
We, the local fishermen, we are not bothered as it is far away from where we sail to. We are not scared at all.
Normally, we didn't hear that they attack some of them at Ghana areas here. It's happening far away.
The Ghana Navy has also assured that Ghanaian water is safe.
For the local fisher folk, they are unperturbed about this piracy attack, as they believe even though it happened in the Ghanaian waters, it happened far from their reach. For them, they are hopeful that the Ghana Navy and other security agencies will be more visible in Ghanaian waters to deter future piracy attacks. Joseph Armstrong, Gold-Alagwe, TV3, Tema Fishing Harbour.
Now let's stay on this particular subject, because one group of fishermen that could be directly affected are owners of vessels that usually go beyond where the artisanal fishermen go. We can now talk to the board secretary of the Ghana Industrial Trawlers Association, Dr. Oyiman Ofori-Ani, to look at the impact of the latest attack on vessels in Ghanaian waters. Now, good evening, sir. Would you say that the sea is still safe despite this recent attack on Thursday?
Good evening. Can you come again, please?
I'm asking if you believe that the sea is still safe despite the recent attack on Thursday?
Based on what the security agencies, the assurances that we have from the security agencies, yes. But when you have over 2,000 Ghanaian fishers on about 43 to 45 trawlers at sea, and this happens, you get a bit concerned and a bit worried. We've taken the assurances from the security agencies, and the vessels are still there. We have over 43 vessels at sea. We take their assurance seriously, but it is a bit of a concern.
Right, now, if you can describe to us the impact this piracy attack could have on the fishing industry in Ghana. We know you yourself are a vessel owner.
The vessels are working. This is just one incident. Like Dr. Kamaruddin said, not too long ago, between 2019 and 2020, a lot of these incidents happened to the tuna vessels. But understandably so, because tuna vessels, those days, most of them were fishing beyond the Ghanaian borders. And so, if they were targets of attack, you should understand. But for speedboats who have come into our Ghanaian waters, because mind you, all the trawlers are licensed to fish only in Ghanaian waters. No trawler in Ghana fishes outside the borders of Ghana. And so for the speedboats and whatever vessel came to Ghana waters to abduct these fishers, it's a bit of concern.
Now, what assurances have you had from the national security to enable you carry out your activity safely?
Well, so I had the news on Thursday evening around 9 p.m. Friday early in the morning, the Navy, the Marine Police, the National Security, Ghana Maritime, and all other related agencies have been on the vessel. They've given us assurance. I guess you've read the statement from the armed forces. They've given us assurances, but the Ghana fishing space is quite large. I don't know whether the Navy have enough resources to be able to be patrolling from the west to the east. And that is a bit of concern. Even though we've taken the assurances in good faith, it is a concern when you have over 2,000 fishers sail at sea, not knowing what fate could befall them.
Right, many thanks for your time. Dr. Yiman is the board chairman of the National Industrial Trawlers Association.
In a related development, the global economy could be making in excess of $1 trillion annually through the sustainable exploitation of the maritime domain, also known as the blue economy. Experts, however, warn that this projection could face a significant setback if piracy and banditry are not effectively addressed in marine spaces. A report by Stanley Nibleu.
The blue economy, which refers to the vast potential of global marine resources, has been described by the United Nations as the new frontier due to the immense benefit it presents to the world. The marine space, covering 2/3 of the Earth's surface, facilitates oil exploration, the transshipment of goods, marine transport, and supports global fisheries. In Africa, the Gulf of Guinea continues to play a crucial role in the continent's gross domestic product, GDP. However, it now faces numerous security challenges. The Director of Faculty of Academic Affairs and Research at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center, Professor Kwesi Annan, has expressed concerns over the emerging threats to the blue economy.
The end result of negative tendencies and negative practices is that the potential and the optimism that we have about the blue economy cannot and will not be achieved.
The continuous threat posed by pirates on fishing, cargo and sailing vessels in the Gulf of Guinea raises serious concerns about security in the region. According to the 2024 Maritime Piracy Report by Atlas Magazine, 26 incidents of attacks were recorded in the Gulf of Guinea. Of these, 7 were classified as piracy, while 19 were cases of banditry. In the American and Caribbean waters, 124 attacks occurred, with 5 categorized as piracy. Meanwhile, the Indian Ocean recorded the highest number of incidents last year, with 323 cases, including 42 pirate attacks. The recent hijacking of a fishing vessel in Ghana's territorial waters, where the captain and the engineer were taken hostage, further threatens the potential of the blue economy in the region.
The blue economy has been projected to be adding some $1 trillion to the global economy. Back in Africa, the AU has also been projecting that when the marine resources are very well harnessed, it is going to bring in excess of $300 billion to shore up the continental GDP and also create 49 million jobs for the teeming African youth. But incidents such as piracy, smuggling, illegal, unregulated and unreported fishing activities are thwarting efforts to enable global leaders achieve their projections.
With the United Nations Development of the Youth Architecture, a strategic framework for information sharing, African countries are now working collaboratively to reduce the frequency of violent attacks and other forms of illegal activity in the Gulf of Guinea. However, ensuring maritime security requires a concerted effort from government, private stakeholders, and international bodies. Strengthening naval patrols, investing in surveillance technology, and fostering regional cooperation will be crucial in safeguarding the future of the blue economy. If Africa is to fully harness the potential of its maritime resources, urgent action is needed. Policymakers must prioritize security, while local communities and industry players should actively engage in initiatives that promote sustainable and safe marine activities. Stanley Niblew, TV3 News, Accra.
And still to come, 5 out of 39 members of a football team suffer intensive injuries following an accident while traveling from Central to the Greater Accra region for a football match. We have details when we return.
You're welcome back to the broadcast. Let's bring you some more stories. And 5 out of 39 members of a football team have suffered intensive injuries as a result of an accident while traveling from the central to the greater parts of Accra for a football match on Sunday. Now, the vehicle ran into a fuel tanker while approaching the Kaswa toll booth. Central Regional Correspondent Kwesiado followed up and has this report.
Members of the football team, Mumford Youth, were traveling from Mumford in the central region to Ablekuma in the greater Accra region when the accident occurred. The Sprinter minibus registered GW 7110-20, on which they were traveling, ran into the side of a fuel tanker with the embossment of State Oil Company Goil a few meters approaching the Kaswa toll booth. Reginald Sachi, an eyewitness, described how the accident occurred.
There's a truck that is stored here already, and they were fixing it. So the tanker, the fuel car, was turning the U-turn to join and then head towards to the toll booth. When the Sprinter driver was also coming from the top there with a top speed. So by the time the Sprinter driver realized that the tank is already in the road, he had already lost control, and then he hit the car. And then there was one lady who just went off at once, and with some babies were there. They just went off, and some of the guys, I think their team, they are going to play a soccer match with maybe some other team, and then it happened. So immediately some cars also came around, and then took some of them to the hospital. The injury that happened was very threatening and very serious. Some of the guys, they are players. Some of them, they have their legs broken and they can't stand. Some have their hands just, broken, and then you could see from the ground that because of the impact was so heavy, so a lot of them got wounded.
The state of the vehicle depicts the intensity of the crash, giving credence to suggestions that the driver was speeding. The severely injured include the coach and some other members of the management team, as well as those from the playing body. The victims were rushed to the English Amanfum Polyclinic for treatment. 3 of them were transferred to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital in Accra for advanced treatment, while the facility's management considered transferring additional patients at the time of filing this report. Those with minor injuries were also treated and discharged. Obedo Fosusafo, a member of the team, spoke to TV3 News.
Team leader Mumford Youth. Fee Apam. Mumford. Na Accra. After match in Tiakonia. Yakubo match. Until Yakuno but with a new driver. And a driver for Fullerden. Obey. Until you do.
We were traveling from Mumford to Accra for a football match. The driver handed the vehicle to another person. Our vehicle crashed into a tanker. We were 39 in number.
Actually, they are very serious. Yes, because like some of them, they have sent them to Crosby.
Residents who live closer to the spot where the accident occurred report rampant accidents, citing the absence of speed limits and traffic control mechanisms.
This is not the first time I'm seeing this in here. I think this is the 3rd time I'm seeing this accident here. And I think that they need the traffic lights here, because anytime the cars are just turning on the U-turn to join the road, the cars coming from this side, it becomes a bit challenging for them to slow down, for the other cars to slow down, for the other cars to also have their way, and then they go. So I think the challenging here is that cars coming here, the cars coming from this side, they want to go, and they come with the speed. There's no zebra crossing here, and people have been crossing from this side to the other side, and this side to this side.
Up next, the sports news.
Sports segment is brought to you by
Kel 360 toothpaste.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the sports segment here on News 360. My name is Bill Lishen. Now, the Ghana Boxing Authority have officially confirmed the death of Nigerian boxer Gabriel Oluwasegun Olemaraju, who tragically passed away after collapsing during a bout at the Bukum Boxing Arena in Accra on Saturday night. Olarewaju was facing Accra-born John Mbanugu, also known as Power, in an undercard fight of Ghana's Professional Boxing League when the unfortunate incident occurred at 2 minutes and 46 seconds in round 3. The 40-year-old was pronounced dead shortly after he was rushed to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. He entered the ring with an official record of 23 fights, 8 defeats, 13 victories, with 12 of them coming by way of knockouts. Now, joining us on phone is Mohammed Amin Lamte, the Communications Director of the Ghana Boxing Authority and the ring announcer when the incident happened. Thank you for joining us, Mohammed Amin Lamte. You were at the scene when this happened. Give us a quick description of how the Nigerian boxer fell.
Okay, very well. Bill, thanks so much for having me. Thanks to your viewers this evening. It is a very sad day last night. As you rightly indicated in your preamble, we all saw the situation and we were totally, shocked to our marrow. But let me also remind you that fatalities are therefore always painful. It's a painful reminder that boxing is a sport or business. That is literally a matter of life and death. So this is notable statement when it comes to boxing. Last night we were expected a very crucial fight because, Gabriel was leading the fight. If you look at the scorecards, round 1 to round 3 was dictating the pace. In this round, as well as said in round number 3, 2 minutes 46 seconds into the round, we all saw what he was doing. They then got closer to an infight, and there was not any ferocious punches that we saw. He just retreated back a bit, and then he went back to lean on the ropes, and that was it. So we want to thank the referee, Richard Amevi, who saw the situation, called the ringside physicians and support coming from the National Ambulance Service, and they tried to resuscitate him. They did that. They transported him to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. He was placed on the oxygen for some time, just after 30 minutes, and then he kicked the bucket. So it was a sad day, but what can we say than to express our condolences to the family and the hope that our boxer would actually rest in perfect peace.
Now, were there indications that he had a condition prior to the bout?
No, Bill, in professional boxing, especially in Ghana, when a boxer gets to Ghana and wanted to fight, regardless of his opponent, you need to provide your license, authentic license, to indicate that you are a professional boxer. After that, you need to submit your medical report. So when you submit the medical report, we have to scrutinize it, try to confirm it from your federation. So we did that, and then everything was set. The GBA approved and then sanctioned the fight before the two boxers fought. So he was not really having any medical problem. So the thing happened. So there's nothing we can say. We are now waiting for the autopsy. The autopsy will tell us what really happened and what is the cause of the death.
And how is the GBA looking at preventing similar occurrences in the future?
No, Bill, football, just like boxing and other sporting discipline, we have similar situations happening. In boxing, many times we have ring injuries. You have boxers that will get injured in the fight, but they will be taken to the hospital and probably die so many months after, or maybe a year after. You have what we call the brain bleeding. Boxers would fight and have this brain bleeding, and they may also have a brain surgery. Some will fall into coma and all that. Some even had head trauma. These are situations that we know in boxing. That is why in boxing, you need to make sure you provide your medical reports. The GBA would make sure they authenticate it. Then before the fight night, you go through the weigh-in. After the weigh-in, we have the physician that will check you medically. Then when you get to the locker room on the fight night, they have to come and check your health condition before you mount the ring to fight. These processes are there. So for me, I think that what happened last night, it was more or less like a learning curve for the GBA to make sure that we have to make sure some of these rules and regulations are implemented, and I will make sure that everybody will live by it. When that is done, we will be able to avoid any future occurrences.
Thank you very much, Mohammed Amin Lamte there. That was Mohammed Amin Lamte, the Communications Director of the GBA. Now to our next story. Golden Cake have become the second Division 1 League team to book a place in the semi-finals of the MTN FA Cup after defeating Karela United on penalties. The game ended 0-0 at regulation time, taking that game into sports kicks. Karela missed their first penalty, while Golden Cakes made no mistake from 5 attempts. They will now face fellow Division 1 League side Atram Divisa in the semis. Kotoko are currently battling against True Democracy, and as at this time, the scoreline is 1-0 in favor of Asante Kotoko. Now, former Black Stars midfielder Rabiu Mohammed has criticized the general handling of aging Black Stars players. He believes some of the legends in recent years were not given proper sending-offs.
Since maybe when I grow up, I see Stephen Appiah, I come and see Sule Muntali, I come and see Samuel Jan, Kwadwo Asamoah. They're big players, but all the time, if they are in their peak, they serve the country very well, very, very well. And after maybe their career, like they don't score or they don't score very well, or they don't perform, their performance is not like before, the country put them beside, and even they don't retire them in the national team.
Now moving on, goals from Erling Haaland and Umar Mamouche ensured a 2-1 comeback victory for Manchester City against Bournemouth to reach the last 4 of the FA Cup. Former Manchester United winger Marcus Rashford neated the brace as Aston Villa comfortably beat Preston by 3-0.
Super play, what a finish, brilliant. Potter, if you like, at right back. This is Brooks, and dangerous, and Kluivert, and in! Whose impact has been notable already, feeds Haaland, and this time he takes the jab. Semenyo, but he hasn't got a hold of it. O'Reilly has. Beautifully done for Mamouche.
That's it for the sports segment here on News 360. My name is Bill Lishen. Up next is entertainment.
In entertainment news, legendary Ghanaian traditional singer Naa Amanua Funeral has been laid to rest as a lead vocalist of the Wulome. She played a pivotal role in the revival of and polarization of Ga folk music, earning admiration across generations. Her intense contributions to Ghanaian music, especially Ga traditional music, were honored with a state-assisted burial.
Musicians, cultural enthusiasts and dignitaries gathered to celebrate the life of a singer whose tunes became the heartbeat of Ga folk music. As a lead singer of the iconic Wuleme band, she not only helped revive but also propelled Ga folk music into the mainstream, earning the admiration of many. Her funeral, held at the forecourt of the State House, drew hundreds of people who came to pay tribute to the iconic composer. According to the president of Musica, Bessa Simons, Naa Amanua's contributions to Ghanaian music, particularly Ga traditional music, were instrumental in securing her a state-assisted burial.
Naa Amanua's voice is Ga music and authentic high life music. Her voice is so authentic, so smooth, so sweet that, and her diction when she's singing Ga song, nobody can copy that, man. And she advises everybody, both young and old. And that is why we're having a state-assisted burial for Naa Amanua. The government recognizes what she has done by promoting Ghanaian music to the whole world.
Many who gathered shared heartfelt stories of how her music shaped their childhoods and of her immense contributions to the Ga folk music genre and the entire Ghanaian music industry.
She is a force to reckon with in the music industry in terms of singing, in terms of, mentoring our women, our up-and-coming women and all. And so it's a big loss, but we know that her soul will rest in perfect peace.
What I know about Naa Amanua when I was, I think, 7 years old,
That was in 1970s. 78 years old was the way she sang with a very special voice. And she created an identity with the marks, the tribal marks, as a gun.
They've tried to maintain our culture in terms of music production. And she was even, before she passed, she was the vice president of our Aged Musicians Association. Anywhere we go, she goes with us.
Naa Amanua is admired by many for her powerful voice and her remarkable ability to tell rich, relatable traditional tales through her compositions. Beyond entertaining and delivering moral messages, she has been widely praised as a cultural ambassador for her invaluable contributions to preserving Ghanaian folk music.
Well, that's your entertainment. Let's bring you some news outside the Ghanaian border now.
A test rocket aimed at kickstarting European satellite launches has crashed back to Earth moments after taking flight. The unmanned Spectrum rocket, which took off from a Norwegian spaceport on Sunday, was billed as the first attempt at an orbital flight to come from Europe. German startup ESA Aerospace developed the rocket and had warned ahead of the tests that the initial launch could end prematurely. The company said 30 seconds of flight was enough time to register data. Donald Trump has said he couldn't care less if car makers raise prices after his 25% tariffs on foreign-made vehicles comes into effect. Some analysts have warned that Trump's import charges could lead to a temporary shutdown of some U.S. car production, with increased prices passed on to consumers. But the U.S. president told NBC News on Saturday that he hoped foreign car makers would raise prices, as it meant people are going to buy American-made cars. We have plenty. On Wednesday, Trump announced new 25% tariffs on cars and car parts entering the U.S. to begin on 2nd April. Charges on businesses importing vehicles are expected on 3rd April, and taxes on parts are set to start in May or later.
Well, this is where we wrap up on the hour's bulletin. Thank you so much for spending your evening with us. There's more news on our website, TV3.com. My name is Noble Crosby, Annan.
And I am Judith. Brown. The pleasure coming to you always. Have a good night.